So how do you pronounce your name?
Namdi.
Namdi.
Yeah.
Namdi. How you doing, Namdi? I'm Glenn.
Okay, Glenn. Okay, that's where the G's from.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, good. No, yeah, it's about 10 o'clock in the UK. We've been snowed under for the last last week. So
Really?
yeah,
Wow. I feel
yeah,
sorry for you guys.
yeah. Well, we've been under house arrest, quarantine. We've been told all to stay home because of the COVID. So it's
COVID and snow.
yeah. So yeah.
Couldn't go out if you wanted to, huh?
Couldn't, yeah. Well, you could to the shop and back, but yeah. But no, it's amazing to see how the weather is like there. Somehow I had the idea that you'd be in New York.
Uh nah. Well, that's where I'm from, you know. But those New York days are I can't I tell my friends now the only way I'm going back is for a really nice check. You know,
Okay, okay.
it'll be a really, really nice check. That's the only way I'm going back. Other than that, I'm right here in Miami
Well,
or somewhere else like this.
well, oh, got a cough here.
Go ahead, do your thing.
Yeah,
When you cough nowadays, it's a whole different meaning to
yeah. No, no. There was as I was laughing.
it.
Yeah,
I'm like this. Look.
yeah. No, definitely. As I was laughing, I just got a stuff back.
It's all good.
I'm not even sure what happened. Yeah, I mean, oh goodness.
Work it out, bro. This is we have we started yet or no? Okay.
No, the reason why I pre-record is because it just means that it just allows for stuff to happen. When I started off, I remember doing one or two live ones, and you're focused on who's watching, what they're saying, and no one was comfortable. But yeah, since we do it this way, it just allows it to flow, and I can just focus on the interview because I don't even if you've seen any of any of the stuff.
A
You know,
couple of them I've seen, yeah.
oh, which one? Which
What's the dude? I used to work with Teddy.
Timmy?
Uh,
Gatlin? Oh, Mucho.
None. Who?
Oh, Sprag.
Yeah, Sprag. I watched
Okay.
that one. Was another one I saw and I can't think of it. I just wanted to kind of get a grasp of your style of
Okay.
interview.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm
to
not a
see what the
journalist.
show is about. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I think because I'm a big music fan, but I'm a therapist when I'm not doing this stuff, and I think one of the things that happened during the summers when I needed an outlet, and so I started interviewing friends, and then it moved on. And Father MC, when I had like 10 viewers,
I
gave
think I
me.
seen that. That's the one I seen first.
Yeah, and he gave me a shot, and from there, Timmy Gatlin opened the doors, and Melvin Riley, and then
Nice, nice, nice.
it's just been going
Big
on.
big shout out to Father.
Yeah, no, yeah, and then I have Donnell next week, Donnell Jones, but I think for me, I said in the intro that there are very few groups that have bought every album. I was a big Teddy Riley fan, and that's how I got into Heavy and the Boyz is because of Teddy. So he did, when I knew he did, and I think I started with the when he did We Got Our Own Thing. I was like, oh, Teddy did this, and then I went back and said, oh, he did the first album, and so that's how I got into the group, and I've bought every album and stuff. But I think the show really
Thank
is.
you. Thank you so much.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, I have every album, but the show is really about your journey, because loads of people. It's like the NBA or NFL. Loads of people play football, but not everyone can into get onto make it professional. And even if
Right.
you do, you can't sustain 4, 5 albums and stuff. And so
Yeah.
the journey is how you started, you particularly, and then we want to see through your own eyes. So I know you're not in New York right now, but are you also from Mount Vernon? Because that's that's how we
Yeah.
all know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We I mean, are we starting now?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, 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 yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. Yes. Yeah, so yes, I'm from Mount Vernon. We all Mount Vernon is not very big. It's a small 4 square miles. And so, you know, we all went to different elementary schools for the most part, but Heaven and Troy went to the same elementary school.
Okay.
But we all kind of met up in middle school some kind of way. And then we got together in high school. So yeah, I'm from Mount Vernon. Troy and I were friends first. Heaven and Troy were, well, they grew up together, so they were already friends. I knew Eddie because Eddie, oh, wait a minute. Eddie went to the same, we both, okay, here it is. Eddie and I both went to the same elementary school, but I didn't know Eddie like that. And because he lived right around the corner from the elementary school I went to, Longfellow in New York, in Mount Vernon. And then Troy and T.R.O.Y and Heavy went to Grimes elementary school. Okay. And like I said, it's so small. We had 2 middle schools for the whole town and one high school for the whole town. So we all ended up in the same high school.
Wow. But then, but back in those days, what were you into?
Oh man, at that point, we was just hanging out, trying to, you know, get girls, playing sports. You know, that was pretty much it. The way this came about was really, I want to say by chance. Nope, not by chance, by God. It was God's hand, all God's work, okay. Right? Because we can plan for a bunch of stuff, but he's the ultimate planner, right?
Yeah.
But the way it came about was we was just in school, and Hev was really nice at rhyming. Ed was really good at DJing. You know, I could dance a little bit for the most part. Troy could dance a little bit for the most part. But it wasn't until, you know, Andre, we put the group together, that Andre said, yo, you need to have 2 dancers. And then Hev came back and said, yo, you guys are going to be my dancers. And that was pretty much how it started. It wasn't like, you know, I was sitting here, you know, watching Fame, and I was like, I want to be a dancer or something like that, you know. It wasn't anything like that for us, for me anyway.
Oh, so you weren't really into, okay, so the dancing back in those days was not, it wasn't like you weren't watching breaking and thinking, oh man.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I really wasn't. But, you know, like if I go to the party, they have a little circle going on, I'll get in the circle and I dance. I mean, I could dance, you know. I've won a dance contest when I was little, so I could always dance, you know. But it wasn't one of those things that, you know, like this is what I want to pursue when I get older, or I want to be a hip hop dancer. Because also, remember, when we started, there wasn't anybody like that around. There was no groups like that around. You didn't have any dancers in groups. You know, we were a group. We were the dancers. You know, we had Hev as the frontman, Eddie's the DJ, and that was the group, you know. But back then, it wasn't anything that someone can see and say, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
So this was all kind of created, you know, and it, you know, it eventually, you know, worked for all of us for the most part. Yeah.
But then, were you not into the music yourself, like either rapping or singing or anything?
I mean, yes, love music. I mean, you know, in the 80s, you know, the 80s music was incredible. You know, I just remember the summertimes and like the music that was out in the summertimes and how it felt. And but again, it wasn't like that was the one thing that I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like some people, you know, grow up and say, I want to play football. I want to play basketball. I just knew coming from school one day that I was gonna have to work for the rest of my life. Every day. That's all I knew, you know. I was on my way home from school or going to school. It's like I was going to school and I was like, dang, I'm gonna have to get up and do this work every day for the rest of my life. This is what it's gonna be like, you know. But it wasn't, you know, like I said, I could dance. And we would dance at parties and stuff like that. If we were hanging out in the park, we would dance in the park and basically freestyling, you know. But it wasn't anything that I aspired to be, you know.
Yeah.
It was something that came about, and thank God we were good enough, to be, you know, able to maintain a career, or to have a career.
Well, was Troy also, I mean, did you guys ever do any sort of synchronized dancing
No, not even before. The first dance we ever did was Big Stuff. That was the first thing we ever put together, was Mr. Big Stuff. And we did that in the basement of our house on Hillside. So we lived on Hillside. Pete Rock lived what 4 houses down, 4 houses down. Hev lived about 7, 8 houses down.
Wow.
And we created the routines for most of the beginning stuff right there in our basement, like in a little 5x5 area space, you know. But that was the first time we didn't see or know how to put anything together from someone to teach us or someone to tell us what we were doing right or what we were doing wrong. We just put it together, and you know, that was how we did Uptown's Kicking It, the little routine. Matter of fact, we might have did Uptown's Kicking It routine right there at the video set.
Okay.
But Big Stuff, Mr. Big Stuff, we definitely created that in the basement, and we rehearsed that for a couple weeks, and just put it together piece by piece by piece. We're gonna do 3 of these, we're gonna do 2 of these, then we're gonna do 1 of these, and that's kind of like how we put it together. That was the beginning of it. And again, there was no template for us. There was no YouTube channel we can go to. There wasn't anybody that we could kind of look to and see and say, how do you do this? You know?
But I'm curious though, because, and I'd always thought about, because Heavy D and the Boyz, so Andre's vision was you have the front man who does the rap, and you had Eddie F sort of putting the music together, and he wanted you, did you buy into that? Did you think, how long would that last? Did you just think, I wanted to get more involved in the music, or were you just like, yeah?
This is so yes, I was just like, this is the group. This is what it is. This is our role. This is Hev's role. This is Eddie's role. But it took a turn, not a turn, but again, there was no one there to show us the map to this. There was no template for this. So one day Andre goes, hey, you know what? We got to do a photo shoot. Here's $400. Go get some clothes. Right? I'm like, $400? What the hell am I gonna do with $400? You know?
Well, that's too much. That's too little.
It was too little. You actually
Okay.
It was $400, right? So, but what we did, he gave me the $400. So I went out and I went and bought some stuff for us. I went to get to Buddy's. That was this place. They had this 2 places called Chambers and Buddy's, I think. And that's where I got Hev's clothes from, Buddy's. And it was a big man shop.
Okay.
It was a big man shop. So I got Hev stuff from there. I probably got our stuff from Macy's, but I spent the $400, and I got that was my other responsibility, I want to say. And what you would call it today is branding, imaging, and stuff like that. Like, I didn't know there weren't any stylists back then for hip hop artists. There wasn't anything like that. So here I am, just like I love clothes, I love fashion, and I would go out and find stuff for us. And when you see I would say about 95% of the stuff that you've ever seen us in is stuff that I either had made, I have a board, or design, or whatever myself. Like, but back then there wasn't anybody like that. There weren't nobody styling in groups. Groups kind of put their stuff together, and so I would like to say, that was my other role in the group, other than dancing and choreography.
Okay. Did you give Andre back any change?
Hell no. Every time he gave me some money, and that was just the first thing. So then you had the video, and then you had another photo shoot, and eventually the budget got a little bit bigger and expanded, and I want to say that the group was organically us and who we were as young men, 4 young men from Mount Vernon, which is a suburb of Westchester County of New York. So you got the Bronx here, and Mount Vernon is right here. You can literally cross the street right from Mount Vernon to the Bronx. And so we had our grasp of hip hop and everything and how it was starting, but no one was really at that time, if we move up a little further, was dressing up. So it was, I want to say it was 1989, and it was the Soul Train Music Awards. So I had money, had to go shopping for us. and I'm shopping, or I'm going all through the city. And then we ended up on, I think, Fordham Road. And I was like, wait a minute, we're going to an award show. Shouldn't we be dressed up? Like, because normally our stuff is sweatsuits, Nikes, and sweatsuits and stuff like that. But it's like, shouldn't we be dressed up? So I went and I got us some suits, I got us some canes, I got us derbies, I got us shades, right? And that was completely different from anything you had seen from a hip hop group at that point. Like, you didn't really see that much. I think Andre, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, they dressed up a little bit, but never from a group like at our time. Everybody was in suits and stuff like that for the most part. But when we stepped on that stage, it was paparazzi back then too, because the cameras was just taking pictures of us. And it was really, I think, because we really looked different. We really stood out amongst all of our other, peers, all our peers and stuff like that. And that kind of solidified the group in that with that image. It was the same as our music. Our music was a hip hop R&B-ish kind of thing. It wasn't really hardcore hip hop. It was like the kind of hip hop that your grandmother could listen to, and the way we dressed and the way we looked, it all just went together, and it worked. It worked for us.
I mean, going back slightly there, because one of the interesting things you said was that you were going back from school thinking, I'm gonna have to work for the rest of my life. All of a sudden, Heavy comes back and says, I've got this deal. Do you talk to your folks and says, guys, what do you think? Do you have to get permission, or you just sign away? What's that like?
Well, there's no really place you can look at and see where, you can use somebody as an example. So our parents didn't believe in any of it. Has parents, our parents are suspect of all of it. Like, it just, because there was what, you gonna rap and you gonna get money? What, you gonna dance and get money? Yeah, okay, whatever. So they didn't believe it at first, and then they said, okay, go ahead and do it. Go ahead, do your thing. And I think everybody was finished school except me. Like, Troy was finished, Hev was finished. And when I say finished, they dropped out.
Okay. Okay.
Eddie graduated because he's smart as hell. Of course he graduated. And his parents are teachers. So he graduated. I'm gonna tell you how beautiful Miami is. I have a blue macaw right here in the tree.
Oh my goodness, like in Rio.
Yes, exactly. Right here in the tree. Just chilling right here. That's the noise you hear in the background. So yeah, no one really believed in it. And things started, moving a little bit, and then we started doing shows and stuff like that. And then, once you get seen in the magazine or something, and it's like, oh, okay, something's happening here. They're really working, But in the beginning, no one believed it. They wouldn't believe in it.
And I guess the other thing we also see is because Heavy was the front person doing the raps, was the contract set up that it was 4 of you as a group, almost like you were Jodeci kind of thing, or was it Heavy separately, and what was it?
Well, it was really Heavy and Eddie, because they were the ones that got the deal, and then they brought us into it.
Okay.
And then we had our own deal between us.
Internally, okay.
Yes.
Now, at that point, then does it become that kind of thing where hopefully we don't fall out, because if we do, then that's it? So, for you personally, how did you?
Well, first of all, I was too young to even think like that, and we boys, and we didn't really like. It's funny you say that, because that never crossed my mind like that. Like we were working and we were doing things together, and it didn't seem like it. Like, once you enter into something negatively thinking, then it's like, well, what are you doing in the first place? If you don't trust what you're doing in the first place, then why are you even doing it? But that never came. I never thought of it like that at the time. Never thought of it like that.
But then when it came to the first album, they had Teddy, they had Marley Marl, Eddie making the music. Did you get involved at all, or what was when they were just recording or doing the album?
No, we would be there in the studio and work with them, or just be there in the studio, support or whatever. But then when an album was finished, we would all sit down collectively and pick the songs. because we did more than whatever songs that ended up on the album. So we would kind of go through all the music and say, okay, this is great, this is great. No, nah, yeah, maybe. And we would that's how we would come up with the album.
There was no Uptown didn't have an A&R that would say these are the songs we're going to pick. And
well, in the very beginning. So
yeah.
this is the thing about, you know, Uptown. When I think about Uptown, and I want to say this in the most humble way as possible, that I want to say that we were the foundation for Uptown. Like Uptown Records started as a compilation album, and it was maybe 6 groups, I can't remember, and everybody was dope, everybody's talented. But for some reason, that record, Mr. Big Stuff, took off. It really, really took off. And, you know, everybody had their projects, but our project really, really took off. And we were the first group to put out an album on Uptown. So the work that we put out paved the way for everybody else to come after. Yeah. And that's what, and that's also because you asked the question of, was it an A&R? It wasn't really an A&R. It was Andre, Jimmy, Kurt, Kim Brathwaite, and maybe a couple other people, and I can't think of their names right now, and us, you know? So we kind of did everything. We did all of it together, and that was how we built up. And then as we did better, we got more people in, you know? But everybody was learning from that point, you know? My man Jimmy Love, J Love, you know Jimmy. Yeah. Jimmy's coming on your show, right?
No, I've done a 2-hour interview with him. Just
okay. Yeah. I love Jimmy. J Love is my man. But we started together. Kurt Woodley, Jimmy Love, Andre, Gary was there, Kim Brathwaite, and somebody else, and I can't think of the name right now. And us, and that was pretty much it. That was Uptown. So we kind of worked together on everything for the most part in the beginning.
Yeah.
So at that point, there was no designated A&R. It was us and, you know, them, yeah. The rest of the guys, yeah.
So off the first album, what was your favorite track from the first album?
It's a great question. So we actually did an EP first, and it had Chunky But Funky,
yeah,
some other Mr. Big Stuff and something else. But I want to say Mr. Big Stuff because that was the one record. Maybe the Overweight Lover because the beat is nice on Overweight Lover. But I don't like to say the word favorite because it just pinholes you into something else, you know, just one thing. But I had, if it was to say a favorite, it'd probably be Big Stuff because that was the one record that started everything.
Okay. Yeah. And then when you rap, when you have the track like Nike, do you have to go out and start getting Nike for everyone?
we that's all we wore anyway. Like, well, the first video, I'm sorry, we had Spot Built on in the first video, the Mr. Big Stuff. But after that, everything else was Nike. And we actually went to Nike, or they approached us. I can't remember what happened. And they started, they endorsed us. They supported us. They gave us tour money. They gave us tour jackets. We got boxes of sneakers every month, sweatsuits and everything every month. Yeah, so you'll see a lot of stuff early on with us with Nikes on and Nike sweatsuits because they were sending us stuff.
Now, did you already have the track Nike before this happened, or was it that they would?
Nah, we was already like I think it was because of that, because they were looking to endorse us. We did it and just added it to the album.
Okay.
Yeah, but we were already it was like that was our thing anyway. You know, Nikes were our thing. You know, and it's crazy that I look back now and I see like all the hot Nikes out now, and these are all the Nikes that we were wearing back then.
Oh, the retro kind of things that are doing.
Yeah, yes. You hear these guys? It's about 10 of them right now.
My goodness.
Yes, some in Miami, Florida.
See that? Yeah. Well, we're digging in snow here. So, so after the first album, that does almost 300, 400,000 and stuff. Do you go straight on tour, or what do you guys end up doing?
That's a great question. So we did a lot of club dates. We did a bunch of club dates, and those were the kind of things that helped us kind of put our show together. And we ended up on a few different tours. One of the first tours I remember being on, we went on a Fresh Fest tour. Then we went on a Wipeout tour with the Fat Boys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But the Fresh Fest tour was like, it was crazy because it was like 4 groups on one bus, on one tour bus. And
Wow.
people were sleeping everywhere.
Wow.
Everywhere. You only got 9 bunks. About 9 bunks. 3, 6, maybe 12, 9 to 12 bunks. And you got a big back, and then you got seating up front. People were sleeping everywhere. So it was us, Salt and Pepper, Joski Love, UTFO. Yeah, UTFO, Joski Love, and Dana Dane.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, God, yo. All of us on one tour bus. Oh, man. Those were great times, though. Those were great times. You know,
relationships, you get to form relationships and friendships.
Real relationships, yes. Like I love those guys till today, you know. Whenever you go through something with someone, or in a positive or sometimes negative, there's a certain bond you create, you know. I almost get like choked up sometimes when I think about it, because it was such a pure time in our career. You know, it was pretty dope.
Yeah, and I think in those early days, I mean, is it when the videos come out that the family start to think, wow, okay, this is really happening? Or when did they start to believe that, well, they did give you the blessing, but when did they really think, wow, this is really...
Yeah. Well,
No,
they start when you come home and they be like, oh, he is right here. Here, speak to him, talk to him. That's your cousin from down south. Say hi. Now they completely bought into it.
Wow.
They completely bought into it. But touring was really like us again putting in that work for Uptown, because at that point in our career, Uptown wasn't just they were managing us, but there was also our label, but they were managing us. So this is, we out on the road and we're making money, and some of that money's going back to the house, But after maybe a year that, we was like, you know what, we good. We handle this on our own. We got this. So we didn't have a manager. We manage ourselves. And again, it's us. I thought I had a do not disturb. I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
Fine.
I don't know. I'm sorry about that. Wait, did I put you? Let me see if I can get it on this one, because
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
It's on. I'm sorry about that.
No. So
yeah, so that was
you started to manage yourself?
Yeah, we managed ourselves. Like so Uptown just was they were just our label at that point. They were our just a record label, and we managed ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying it was one of those things that, we kind of came in learning, and then we learned pretty fast, and we figured out what we needed to do, and we did it,
Being that you guys were the first, were you able to learn the business side of things early on? Masters, publishing, copyrights, all the ownership stuff, and points.
Yes. So again, like I said, we started picking up quickly, very quickly. Well, why is this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing another promotional show? Why we have another promotional show? Why are we going on a promotional tour? No. We're not gonna do. We need to earn some money here too. Like, it just can't be all about that. Like, we started figuring things out, and what happens is that you got a company, then you got another record that you need to put out, right? So you got let's say a guy record, maybe, I don't know, you want to make sure that gets positioning or whatever, get played. So guys not really out like that, but let's Heavy D The Boyz are out. Let's get them to do a promotional show for us, so we can make sure that this record that's coming back next, that gets the play that it needs, or the position that it needs. But it was a lot of that. So we figured things out really quickly, and we adjusted, And it's nothing to take away from, anybody, but it was just, us taking care of ourselves, making sure that we were taken care of,
After the success of the sort of first album, especially for Uptown, and you go start working on the next album, does anything change within, does the when you're doing Big Time, does anything change from, okay, the approach, who we're going to work with as a group? Do you make that decision, or is it still Heavy and Eddie doing all that stuff, and you and Troy at the back? What happens? And
Well, that's a great question, and it's a great question because things did change. So we were on the road so much that being away from New York, you kind of lose a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You miss a step now because you're away. So whatever was maybe hot before is not really hot now, and there's something coming in and up. If you're not in the midst of it, you're gonna miss it.
yeah,
So what happened with us was we started working with a choreographer, and I want to tell you that this was the like that moment in your career where everything switches and you go from being mediocre to being awesome, greatness. And so we needed someone to help us achieve that, to get to that point or do that, because we didn't have that edge, that street edge, or the knowledge of the club anymore. We weren't in the clubs like that. We were in the clubs in Texas somewhere, or in a club in California. Like, so things is different. They trying to keep up to us now,
yeah.
what we've been doing for the last year or so. So we began working with Rosie Perez.
Wow.
And when I,
Okay.
wow, but she wasn't Rosie Perez, the Rosie Perez that you know her to be now.
Yeah.
She was just Rosie, Now, Rosie, though, was dope. She was dope. And she was no nonsense, and she didn't take no shit. And
wow.
she made us, I want to say, I like to think that she pulled out of us more than that we could have pulled out ourselves at that time. And she made us great. And that we got thing is the example of that to me. Is like, I was in the best fucking shape of my life. I felt great. I felt awesome doing the routines. And we not only worked on that record, we got our own thing, but we worked on preparing for tour. We put a whole set together. So we worked on More Bounce to the Ounce, all the different other records from that album. And we put together not just the song, but a whole tour. And she was just incredible. I love her till today. I haven't seen her in years, but I love her still because that was just an awesome moment in our lives. And she made us great,
Wow. Yeah, in fact, I did see a video that Eddie posted with Rosie there. And I'm thinking, oh, I didn't get the connection
Right.
with that. But so back when you were doing when you're working with her, who was it? Uptown that brought her, or who found her?
That's a good question. I can't even tell you. Maybe it was Uptown. I'm not sure. I can't remember that. I just know we showed up at rehearsal one day, and there she was. And I was like, okay, all right, this is what we doing. And she was incredible, boy. And she would work us out. Like, she would make us do a routine, and we would do the routine we'd do the routine together. Then we had to do the routine by ourselves. Then we have to do the routine face the other direction. Then we would have to do it 3 times without a mistake,
Wow.
and that's the only way we could move on to the next song.
And then for you though, having somebody now making you a lot more disciplined, was it hard to adjust at first? There was no fight back, or you thought, wow, this is going to take me to another level?
I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if she would have to tell you that. Like, I don't think so. I think that we was pretty receptive to it because we needed it. We knew that we didn't have that edge anymore. I mean, we were on a roll we put out the single, Big Stuff. Then we put out the EP. Then we put out the album. That took us on the road for 2 years. Like,
wow.
It was like we was on the road for 2 years. I can't tell you right now because my memory's shot. Those days, back in the days, I used to drink a lot of Old English, but
okay. Okay.
my memory's shot. But yeah, I think that it was just one of those things that needed to happen for the most part because we didn't have that same. We were on the road and we didn't coming back home. We were missing things. We didn't have that edge, that same connection to the street.
Yeah. And so, because you guys, so when you go back into the studio to do Big Time, Do you guys have more as a okay, let's all get involved, or is it still Heavy and Ed that's picking? Okay, let's work with Teddy on these two tracks.
No,
On this
that
track.
was their thing. That was their thing. That was, you know, Heaven Eddie. That's what that was their thing. Like I didn't get involved with the music like that. I like my thing was the clothes and the dancing, you know. Making sure that our image was running, you know, right alongside with the music. Like but it was us. It was us anyway. So, you
Yeah.
know, it wasn't anything to think about. It was just me going out saying, okay, okay, we're gonna wear this. I want something like this. And at this point, we, you know, I'm working with designers. I'm working with tailors and seamstress to make our clothes. I had a young lady named Nissy, I'm sorry, Nissy from Mount Vernon. She's just like, she just got skills with sewing machines. She didn't have like, she would make stuff for people, but she was really doing a lot of stuff for us, you know.
Okay.
And I had a Dapper Dan making things at that time early on for us as well. And then I had a guy named Keith Holman in California. He did a lot of stuff for Michael Jackson. He did stuff for Eddie Murphy. Like, so yeah, I was working with a lot of those guys.
So we always hear the stories about how the labels would say, okay, here's the, we'll spend 1 million on the video and on all this stuff, but it's going to come out of the album sales and your advances. So when you're getting all these personalized clothing, did you know that, okay, if we sell 1 million records, they're going to take all the money out from that? So what was it? How did you guys sort of think about what you're spending?
I mean, back then the budgets were, you know, starting out, like I said, was $400. That's the first money I got from Andre. $400. At this point, the budgets is getting a little bit bigger. We up in a couple thousands now, maybe, you know, 3,000, maybe 4,000, depending on what kind of shoot it was. Or was it for a video? Was it for a photo shoot? Was it, you know, for album cover or something like that, single cover? But it depends on what it was for. But wasn't thinking about that.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking about, most artists aren't thinking about that when they're in a studio spending extra time and, you know, wasn't really thinking about that. No, I
Yeah.
was just I wanted to make sure that we looked the best we could possibly look and that we were leading in that sense, that we were leading in the sense that people wanted to go out and look like us. People wanted to dance like us. People wanted to sound like us. Like that was my main concern, to make sure the group was, you know, together, you know, in that sense, and that image was strong. The image represented us well.
And I guess one of the nothing talks about that when you do the we've got our own thing, the music, the video, the dancing. I mean, what was your when the track came out and they said this is going to be the first track, the choreography and everything? Did you guys work on it as a together? Was Rosie involved with that or?
Um, so as far as like the first single came out, we knew what the first single was going to be, and we worked on that. We worked on that hard, and that was the first thing we basically did together. Was that one song, and then we worked on the other songs for the tour, to get ready for tour.
Okay.
But that was our thing. So like they didn't involve themselves with that. Like that
Oh,
was me and
Uptown.
Troy. Yeah, like well, Uptown
No,
at this point was just our record label.
okay.
But
I
as
mean,
far as
Heavy and Ed.
yeah, they didn't. That was us. Hev would come in when we had a routine together, so we can incorporate him into the routine.
Yeah.
But really, all that stuff, the dancing and stuff, was all, you know, trying myself.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we always have to think about Hev was the fact that he's for his size an amazing dancer. No, not just with the Janet video, but did back did he gradually get better, or was it did he naturally always have that in him?
Yeah, he naturally had it. It was just it. Like, you know, Hev played football, so he was light on his feet. He was fast on his feet for the most part. I don't know how good he was, but I know he played. But he played football, so he had to be a little something on his feet. But Hev could move. Like, and then here we got these two little guys around. He got to keep up with us, you know. And all we had to do really was just show him the chorus, give him the chorus. And sometimes, you know, he picked it up faster than others. But it wasn't a lot of rehearsal together. You know, Hev was that good. He could come in, pick up pick up a couple steps, and he got it. And he come in, incorporate, then he started doing his own thing. You know,
yeah.
and go heavy, go heavy, go heavy. Yeah, so he could really move for a big guy.
And the first album, so on Big Time, so we've got our own thing. You do Somebody for Me. I mean, that was another big, big, big track. Which did you have a favorite out of those two?
Yes, I do. I was I was trying to get it out real quick because We Got Our Own Thing is my favorite because of what it did for us. The video is incredible, and how, you know, it was like we bought into this, you know, working with somebody else, and how incredible she was, and how I felt doing that video, add the video, how I felt with the song, performing the song. I just felt incredible at all times. Somebody for Me, I didn't like.
Oh,
It was a big record for us. Because it was more. And we actually worked with these other guys for that song. Stretch, Henry, I forget the name of their crew. I can't think of the name of their crew right now. But these is old school dope dancers. You've seen them in the Michael Jackson video.
okay.
You've seen them with these guys with a bunch of people back then. They did a lot of stuff. And it was like a club routine. Somebody for Me was almost like a club routine, like a club dancing routine. And I didn't like club dancing that much.
Okay.
Like I couldn't get with it. Like I couldn't get with it.
And
I'm sorry to all the club heads. I'm
yeah.
sorry for all the club heads out there. You know.
But visually, that was, you know, probably one of the better videos back in, and because I mean, I know We Got Our Own Thing was almost groundbreaking because it was Teddy at his height, and that was almost like a showcase of. I always remember how they said, "What is New Jack Swing?" and that was almost like, "This is what it is."
Okay, that's dope. So with We Got Our Own Thing, we worked with this director called David Kellogg. David Kellogg ended up doing a lot of stuff. Ruth Carter was the stylist on that. So when you look at that video, there's one of the best shots to me is the polka dot shot, right? And that wasn't me, that was Ruth Carter. And like when those things happen, when I would come on, and it would always have another stylist around. But I was always bringing my own stuff. I always brought, you know, 3 or 4 outfits for us. But that was one of the times I was like, yo, this shit look crazy. These polka dots are crazy. And it just was so dope. Went along with the set and everything, and how everything worked together. And the way it was shot and everything, it just looked great. That to me is my favorite. That's my favorite video, hands down. Heavy D The Boyz, hands down. Favorite video. Yeah.
Of that album, the We Ain't Had Nothing Yet was, and I used it in the promo recently. When I listen to it now, I can still remember listening to it back in the 1980s.
Wow.
It was just my favorite track, the way he just took his stuff and said, "You ain't had nothing yet." That sense of we're only just beginning.
Yeah.
When you guys are in the studio, I mean, here's with were you trying to pick up and learn on that side, or were you just thinking, no, I'm just going to focus on the styling and that side, or did you ever think about
Well, so the gradual natural thing would have been for us, and we talked about it. It's a story behind it. So we talked about it. You know, the Boyz coming out with music and stuff like that. Coming out with an album and stuff like that. We never really got around to doing it, but it was definitely talks about it. I want to think that album was was the height of our career. That was when Heavy D and the Boyz kind of just went from here to all the way over there during Big Time. Because everything was just clicking on all cylinders, you know. Us learning the business, knowing the business, us being comfortable with ourselves, with our image, everything, like, you know, when it felt like it was everything was working. So naturally that was the natural progression of it, but we just never got around to doing it. But again, like I stayed where, you know, we would come in and support and be in some sessions, but I wasn't in all the sessions.
Yeah.
You know.
But if you had done the Boyz, what would what would have made? What would you guys do? Would you then have to learn how to rap, or would you have sang, or what would
Oh
you have
yeah, nah. What do we learn? I can't sing a lick. I would have had to, played around with some rapping a little bit, but I never. I did a couple demos. I had a couple demos. I made a couple demos, but nothing that I wanted to put out. Nothing that I wanted to put out. But we would have been rapping. We'd have definitely been rapping, and it would have just been an extension of what we were doing.
Hmm.
You know, but it would
But
have
then,
just been us doing it.
but how come you guys didn't then at least feature on any of the tracks? It was just have alone.
Yeah, because we weren't in that place. We weren't even thinking in that place at that time. This
Okay.
was like, you know, big time is happening, is going where it's going, and people were, I don't want to say groups were doing other things, but you seen other people doing other stuff, and it was just something we thought about. But again, we never pursued it yet. We hadn't pursued it or anything. It was just talk. We were gonna call ourselves Boys to Men.
Before Boys,
Yes,
really?
yes, 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 and yes. I remember joking around with Will Smith and uh, uh, Jeff on tour about stuff like that, like oh the boys, we're gonna be men, whoa. Like those are great guys too. Fresh Prince and Jesse Jeff. Yeah, but we were gonna be called Boys to Men. We're gonna call ourselves Boys to Men. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
So when the other guys came out with Boys Men, did you think, man?
It's like Mike, yo, what's up with that, bro?
So I mean, you go platinum with that big time. I mean, as I said, it took you to another level and stuff. Um, but along the way, you've got other people who were coming around. You had Pete Rock, and you also had Albert. I'll be sure.
I'll be sure.
Growing up, were they around when you were kids, or?
Yeah. So Pete, like I said, lived 4 houses down from us. Troy and I, we lived on the corner. Pete was 4 houses down, and Hev was 7 houses down. So Pete was already always around. And it's funny how, like, all of a sudden, because Pete was DJing at first, I think. He was DJing at first. And then he started doing beats, and he became nice at it, you know? And so then what's the natural thing to do? Piece of family, that's family, So we just started working with them, But then Al lived around the corner from Eddie.
Okay.
So they always been together doing stuff, When I remember we would be working on demos in the very beginning. So we were around, like I said, but we weren't, I couldn't carry a tune if it was in a bag, If it was in a Prada bag, I couldn't carry it. I couldn't carry it too. But so Al was always around. He was always around doing stuff with Eddie, working with Eddie. So it's only natural that he came out, Same thing with Pete. It was all right there. There were so many groups that came out of Mount Vernon at that time. I mean, I can't tell you all the name, but name all of them. But In Touch, Jeff
Touch.
Red, yeah, In
Oh.
Touch, Jeff Red. It's another group. I can't think of the name of the group. But the YGs came out of Mount Vernon, Young Guns rather.
Was this off the back of what you guys were doing?
Yeah. Well, I like to think that in Westchester County there wasn't really nothing happening, period, in Westchester County until we came out.
Yeah.
And then it's funny how that when you see someone else doing something, you realize that, okay, this is also possible for me too. Like I can do this as well, And that's what happened. So much talent came out of that one little town. And not just on music. Look at Puff. Puff was right there in Mount Vernon. And he became, yeah, he's from Harlem, or his family's from Harlem, but he lived in Mount Vernon. And Hev was the person that talked to Andre to get him his internship at Uptown.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. So all these things happen, because of I want to say because of Heavy D The Boyz in some roundabout way for the most part,
Yeah, I mean, so 89, you guys have gone platinum with big time. Now Uptown Guy has joined in, and they've gone big with Groove Me. what is it like at Uptown? Were you noticing, wow, big office, lots of money coming in? What did you notice?
The budgets got bigger. The budgets got bigger. The tour buses got better, and everything is working. You know what I'm saying? The vibe in New York City. So if I back up a little bit, we go to when we started. It was Def Jam was it. You had Run DMC. You had LL Cool J. You had those guys, and those were like Def Jam was it. That was the label. But in the 90s, Uptown was the label. And the vibe in the street and everywhere was just, it was incredible. It was just incredible. And to be a part of that vibe. So now you got Heavy D and the Boys, you got Guy, you got I'll Be Sure. Now you got Mary coming, and then Jodeci came.
And Father MC.
Father MC. And like Father was putting out these hits. He's putting out bangers. Bang after bang after banger. So you got all these groups, and this is really taking over New York City because there was nobody else making that kind of noise, you know what I'm saying, in New York on that level. No label. So the parties were incredible. Whatever party was happening, if it was a pool party at Andre's house, it was lit. If Eddie F had a pool party, it was lit. Like it was just one of them things that it was a whole vibe, a whole movement that was happening in the 90s, and New York City and Uptown Records was the center of all of that.
Wow. And then for you guys, I mean, from seeing it grow from its infancy and seeing where it was now, I mean, I'm sure you guys were thinking, did it change financially for you guys? As the albums were doing well, did they then say, look, we need to make sure you guys are taken care of, or is it mainly the tours that where you were really getting your bread and butter?
Well, the budgets, like I said, the budgets got bigger, so that helped out a little bit more. So now I'm not buying polyester, I'm buying leather. I'm getting stuff made in leather for us. So, but the budgets got bigger for us. That happened, and then touring. I remember this vividly. Like, we was working with one of those companies, ICM or Nobby Walters or something at that point, and they kept coming up with us with a bunch of like spot dates, like club dates. And I was like, yo, we're not doing club dates anymore. That's it. Club dates is over. I don't want to see another club date. If it's not tour, I'm not doing it. If it ain't a tour, I'm not doing it. And that really solidified our money, solidified us in the in the industry as far with our promotion company, ICM, that this was the standard from now on. This is what we're going to do from now on, and we're not going to do anything else. And that really, made us, I don't want to say it just made us bigger. It made us bigger because now we're performing in front of nothing less than 18,000, 15,000 maybe people, 15,000 and up. I think we probably did 100,000 in one place, but
wow,
I can't remember. Yeah, but everything other than nothing, we weren't doing any more club dates after that.
Wow,
and that changes your money a lot too.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the other thing that at that point, you had Bobby. I think
MCA. Bobby's at MCA.
Yeah, but I mean, as a performer, I mean, at that time in the 88, 89, he was probably one of the best dancers in the world. I mean, then he had his heart
heart and soul.
What was your thoughts about?
I love those guys. I thought they was dope. Like to see, I watched the video a couple of weeks ago just for shits and giggles, but he was dope. They was dope. I knew those guys. We actually toured with Bobby, but this was before that album. This is before he had them. They weren't on the road with him when we first did a tour with him. I think it was King of Stage we toured with him. And but then his next album, he came out with Prerogative and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You remember what that video was like when you saw it?
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I've seen his concerts and he's doing, one leg up and he's moving backwards and he's out dancing his dancers. I mean, I've never seen anyone move like that. I mean, for you guys as yourself and Troy as dancers, when you watch someone like Bobby, does it say, man, we need to up our game? Because he was taking it to another level back in that 89, 90.
I wouldn't say that. Like we never. I don't want to think that anybody was competition for us in the sense that we were great, we were the best or anything. Now I would never say that. I think that we were good at what we did and we did our thing and we did it well. Those guys did their thing and they do it well as well. Like I was fans of those guys. Like I love to watch them dance. I love how they, put their shit together. But our shit was together too, though. You know what I'm saying? Like we were together too, but they were dope. I'm like Scuba and Scrap. I love those guys. A bunch of those dudes. I love them. I thought they were dope. And MC Hammer's dances was crazy.
Oh yeah, Hammer was on another level.
We toured with those guys too. Yeah, he had like a small village on stage with him. But it was like a small village. But those guys got busy though.
Did you enjoy being on the road? I mean, was it fun or did you prefer being at home? What was it like for you during those?
Man. Come on, man. I'm freaking 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. We out on the road unsupervised. But it's funny though, is that even though we were unsupervised, we were smart and we knew to put guidelines, restrictions, limits on ourselves. Like we were smart enough to do that. You can't miss the bus. You can't be late to the bus. You can't miss sound check. Can't be late to any of that stuff. Like no missing no interviews, late to anything. None of that stuff. Like we couldn't do that. Like we didn't do that stuff. That wasn't, we were always on time for that stuff. It was, we were. And that's the kind of thing that we put on ourselves. The other thing we had is no one could leave the tour and go to someone's house or something like that. So if we're on tour and you meet some girl or some guys or whatever, you want to hang out, and they're like, yo, call me back to my crib. Nope, can't do it. Can't do it. That's something you can't do. And oh man, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. And this is a new phone.
Who not made the rules, but
we did. We did. We sat down and we talked about this, and we talked about it as a group. And these were the restrictions we had. We put on ourselves, And this again goes back to us managing ourselves. And
so you never got an official manager. It was pretty much.
Nah, never. No, we had Uptown in the beginning. Andre and Uptown Records were the beginning, but after that, it was like that was it.
So you guys are touring and everything, and then the unfaithful accident with T.R.O.Y.
Mm-hmm.
For you guys, I mean, on that day, I mean, what was the? I guess they're having footage and stuff, but was it a routine that didn't go right, or?
It's strange that there's so many different stories out there of what happened, and even what you're saying right now sounds like, I don't know, you have a way different story from what happened.
Yeah, no idea.
Yeah. So I'll tell you right now what happened. We had a show. It was in Indiana, and we were finished the show, and we were leaving backstage, and we were. It was Kid and Play, Salt and Pepper was on the show with us, Public Enemy. And I can't think who else. And one of the guys that was with, I want to say Kid and Play, Salt and Pepper, but they were all part of the same clique. Kid and Play and Salt and Pepper was part of the same clique. Yeah. We were leaving backstage and we were going down a ramp backstage, and one of the guys pushed a garbage can, like a garbage can, like a wheelbarrow almost. Yeah. It was like a wheelbarrow, but it has a top on it, and it's big though. It was big.
Yeah. No.
And he pushed it down the ramp, just playing around. But when he pushed it started coming towards us, and as we were coming down a ramp, and Troy goes to jump up on the wall of the ramp, but misses it and goes over the side. And when we look down, it's like, 15, 20 feet down. And then that was it. He tried to get up, he couldn't get up. We called the ambulance, and he didn't make it.
Wow.
He was alive for a while, but then he did make it. But it was, you know, you hear all kinds of stories about it and what happened.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. You know, somebody was playing around, and he went to jump up on a little ledge like that, and but you couldn't see. We couldn't see what was over the side. Like
Yeah.
we couldn't know that it was, you know, that far up. And yeah, it was an
So,
accident, bad
with
accident.
were the four of you all there at the same time? Yourself, Eddie, and
Yeah,
Heavy.
all of us, all of us. It was a bunch of us. Everybody was leaving. We was actually walking to the bus, get
Okay.
on the bus to go to the next show.
Wow. What? So, what does that? How does that change the that? Well, change everything for you guys.
It changes everything, everything. I mean, um, it changes like everything. Everything feels different. Um, I want to say we finished a couple more shows,
Oh, you still went
and
on?
then yeah, we did. We did a couple more shows. But then that was it. You know, that was it for that tour, and that was kind of, I want to say, wasn't it for me right away. Um, but everything after that was harder for me. You know, this is my best friend. This is my brother. You know, and it was all of our brothers, but you know, that was my best friend. You know, and it was difficult. But we went on. We went on to do Peaceful Journey, um, Blue Funk, and Nothing But Love. But it was very different. Very different.
What was your how? What about your role? Because if you and Troy were had your routines and your steps, how does that change what you then have to do on your own?
So we ended up working with a lot of these ladies, Big Les,
Big Fish.
yeah, Fatima,
Okay.
um, April, can't think of April's last name, and Maryland, and these people all still around today doing
Yeah.
stuff. You know,
Big Les.
they
Yeah.
all still around. Yeah, she's still doing stuff. They became like, and then we had the different girls. We had Tonya. She came in for a little bit. This girl named Tonya. Um, but at this point, I'm kind of doing. I want to say not at that point, not right away. But I eventually started like managing Heavy D. You know, because Eddie was off doing Untouchables. This is a couple hours later, but after Peaceful Journey. Um, but it just changed everything. Everything just like, you know, wasn't the same, you know,
Yeah.
wasn't the same. I think we learned the thing that we took from Troy's death was that we knew that life was really short and tomorrow wasn't promised. And it was important for us at that point to tell each other every day or whenever we got off the phone with one another that, you know, I love you. And that was, you know, that's hard for to think about for young black men to tell another young black man that I love you and
Mm.
mean it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and it was something that we took from it, and we practice it till today. You know, still.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I get off the phone with Eddie, I love you. When I get off the phone with any of my boys, I love you. You know, that's just what it is.
So I mean, so you because did you then think, well, you can't go back on stage on your own, so they needed to bring in others? Or did you just think, you know, what, I'm gonna? Did you think of quitting, or what was?
Well, not at that point. Because visually it wouldn't be right. Like, you know, you just got me and Heavy. I'm dancing by myself. That didn't look right. So we needed something else. We needed the girls to come in and kind of, you know, and then I work with those girls, and it was great. It was great. They were professionals. They were great, and they, you know, I won't say they came from the school of Rosie, but you know, they understood it. They understood what it was and what it needed to be, and we did it. We did it. There's a, you know, a couple things out with me, uh, like MTV Awards. Uh, I want to say Arsenio Hall, but we did a bunch of stuff, and it was nice. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
But in your mind, you're thinking, okay, I need to start reflecting on what's next. Was that when you start after? Because the Peaceful Journey was another big album because you had
Yeah.
nothing but Not I've
Uh,
Found Love,
yeah.
which was a big global hit. Um,
Yes. Yes.
um,
Big record.
and yeah, even Is It Good to You? So I mean, the album actually, I think that was the first CD I actually bought You know, the other times, you know, you're listening, but
It
this
was
is
on,
when I actually had a CD player and like, okay, I can buy this one.
yeah.
Um, but as I said, when you're doing that, what are you contemplating about? How do you go forward? Did you start thinking about being? You said did you start working behind to help
Yeah,
Heavy or?
that was that was later on. That was like after Nothing But Love. After Nothing But Love, I was like, okay, I'm good. Like this is it. I don't even want to come back out and do this again. Like each time was it, all of it was a task after that. You know what I'm saying? But this one last time, I couldn't bring myself to to doing it over again, you know. And then I went behind the scenes and started working, you know, behind the scenes and, you know, just the day-to-day stuff, whatever needed to be done, tour stuff, whatever, stuff like that.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that
And that,
okay? Go ahead.
no, I was just saying that was what got me ready to move on and do other things, you know, just learning that.
So, because I know that I remember when you came out with Nothing But Love, it was announced that this would be the last album from Heavy D and the Boys, and I didn't know. I think from a fan, I didn't know what was the reasons behind that. So, did you have a discussion and say this is it, I can't do it again, or what was?
It's a great question. It's a great question. It makes, you know, I didn't think about this for a while, but it was a moment. It was a moment. We were getting ready to put out, you know, Number Love, and we had, you know, you get ready to come out and you got to do promotions, right? And we got ready to do a promotional show at it was Atlantic City for one of these conventions in Atlantic City. It was a convention, and I got all of the clothes for everybody. Everything was done. I rehearsed, knew the routine. We was getting ready to go, and I had my daughter with me, my oldest daughter with me too, and she was young. She was about 3 or 4 by that time. And getting ready to go out, and I'm dressed to go out, and I say, "Yo, I can't do this. Can't do this. I'm sorry, Hev, and I just can't do it. I can't go out." And he was like, "What? Word?" And he was like, "Okay." And he just went out and did his thing. And that was the last. That was the last thing I did, you know, aside from the video or whatever. But after that point, that was the point when that was going to be the last Heavy D The Boyz album. You know, at
But
that moment.
was this before Nothing But Love? Because it was announced when the album was coming out that this was the last Heavy D and the Boys album. But
Yeah, I mean, we were getting ready to come out on the tour. It was probably prior to that. I mean, it's
okay,
probably prior to that. You know that everything that you hear isn't always the way it is. You know,
yeah.
like yeah.
Because no, I think back listening to Video Soul, they said that this is the it was almost like the press release was this was the last Heavy D and the Boys album, almost like a way of well, you need to get it because it's going to be the last time they're going to
Yeah,
come out as Heavy D and the Boys. So I know buying the album that was you guys were disbanding.
yeah.
Um,
This was prior to it being released. Like it was getting ready to come out. It
okay,
didn't come out yet, and we were doing the promotion for it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the album, another big big album. I remember Black Coffee, and I didn't see you as Big Les was down. Black Coffee. That's another
Yeah.
massive track. Then what did you start to do? Think, okay, you decide to make a switch to say, "Have let me manage you," or what? How did that conversation?
Yeah, well, you know, it's just natural for me to just because I know everything. You know, we all learned all of this together. So, you know, we went on tour. We did the last tour with what was tour? We toured with Keith Sweat, not Keith Sweat. I'm sorry, R. Kelly actually. 12 play tour. It was a
Okay,
12 play tour. That was like the last tour um, that we went on for the most part. I think that was the last tour, and I just got all the production together for it. Got you know the route for the tour and all that stuff. Worked with the promoter. I think it was Al Heyman. Worked with the promoter to make sure you know our staging was right, our production was right. I had my brother bring Tribe the production equipment down from New York, the stage set from New York. We had a bunch of guys from Mount Vernon working with us. So it was just kind of making sure all those things working firsthand with the touring the agents, you know. So that became our responsibility, you know, which was, it was natural because I already knew how to do it, you know,
Yeah.
and I did all the clothes still did all the clothes for that too as well.
And so when the tour's finished and stuff, what do you turn yourself to start to try and do?
So naturally it's music because that's what I've been doing for most of my life. Like I may have had at that point 2 jobs outside of music. Like I was worked at McDonald's and Heaven and I were camp counselors. I think I worked at GM for a summer, and other than that, that was it. So I think I started finding groups and trying to manage groups. Um, I didn't put anybody out, but I got a couple of little, you know, deals, development deals. So I started doing that, and then I got into some promotions, and then I went to work at Motown for Andre Ferrell.
So
Yeah.
how so I spoke to Jimmy about that, but from your point of view, as a fan, I was like, I wasn't happy with the from Uptown to Motown. I think one reason because you already had a hot label, and I thought in my head, I thought, was this because Bad Boy was doing bigger than it was becoming the hottest label, so
It
he
was the
needed
hottest label.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was blown up, and I almost felt because I said I'm a fan looking in, thinking that oh, Uptown, because Jodeci had the whole Suge Knight and all that stuff, and so it almost felt as if you know what, I've got a chance to go to a bigger label and stuff, and the whole from Uptown to Motown. What was it for you? What did you when he called you up? What was your thoughts and
Well, when I heard it happening, because at the same time, Hev was also becoming the CEO of Uptown. At that same time, around a little bit after that, he became the CEO of Uptown. But I called Andre. I found out about the move. I was like, "Yo, Dre, what's up? I want to go with you." You know, Eddie was already coming, and I said, "Look, bro, you know I know this inside and out. And we didn't started this from the bottom. We didn't figured all this out. So you know, like who else you on your team knows as much as I know? Like I learned everything at the same speed you learned it. You know, and we learned it without no manual. So what's up?" So he brought me in. And you know, being in the studio and understanding music and understanding the development of it, because now you learn and you're learning as you go along what a radio single is, what an album cut is, you know how to do certain things in the studio from being in the studio for all these years now.
yeah.
So it was pretty easy for me for the most part. And I had the Whitehead Brothers. That was my group. Whitehead Brothers was my group. I
Yeah,
did their last.
I interviewed Kenny last week. Really nice guy,
Oh
but
really?
Kenny,
Oh man, can't even really something else. But that boy, wild. He's a wild boy, wild, talented man. Yes, yes.
So were you
So with
responsible for that the album that they came out with? And
the last one, I think it was the last one on Motown. I worked on that album. I did a couple songs with them on that album. And excuse me. But my group was Shades. I brought out this group called Shades. I signed this group called Shades. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They put a song out. Tell me your name. What car do you drive? Now the funny thing about this song is that Total, did they put out the same song? It's the same track, I think it was. I'm not sure. My memory's shot. Remember that. But this is where I met my partner, my business partner, Shannon Williams at the time. So she's Shannon Allen now. But she was part of this group called Shades. And so I put the group out, worked with the album, but then like you were saying that you wasn't down with that whole Uptown to Motown thing. And what happened was there was a lot of hype about it, but there was nothing was producing. Nobody was producing anything out of it. A lot of money spent, and nothing was really coming out of it. You know, it was just a lot of money being spent for the most part. and maybe, you know, maybe it was a competition thing, but not a competition thing, you know, because Puffy was doing so great, and Andre wanted to come out and just, you know, do it all over again, I guess, for the most part. But it didn't pop as well as we wanted it to pop. Yeah.
So now I think there are two sides to this. The first is that you've got your guy you grew up with running Uptown, and but you decide to go to Motown. Did Heaven not say, "Come on, I need you here because you've been managing me"?
You know what? He didn't say it. I'm gonna just keep it 100 to you. He didn't say it. I don't know why. And you know, this is one of the questions I never even asked him, but I was cool where I was at with Andre. I was cool because me and Eddie were there. You know, Eddie and I were there. You know, so I was cool. You know, I was working and I was doing pretty good for the most part. You know, so I don't know. I couldn't answer that question.
What did you
Yeah.
learn in Motown? How long were you guys there for before?
I was there for about a year or so, maybe a little more than a year before I left. Well, actually, I got fired. Andre had spent so much money, he had to now. You can't keep everybody. Now people got to go because there's money being spent, checks, and so then people gradually started leaving, going, whatever. Um, but I learned a lot there. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. Um, working in a group, inside of a group, and you're kind of like the back guy, and I'm a humble person. We're all humble people, and there's no need for me to toot my own horn. I know what I've done. I know what I do. I know who I am. I know my worth. But you don't really know it all the time when you got four other guys with you. It isn't until you by yourself and you stand on your own that you realize how dope you are. You know what I'm saying? You are. Collectively as a group, we were dope. You know, what I did for the group, the imaging and the branding of the group, that was dope. But who thought that or who knew that? And I didn't think like that. I just thought that this is what I needed to do because this is what I had always done for the group. And people have jobs, specific jobs for that now. People get hired as a stylist now. Like there was no stylist back then, you know. Later on down the line, you realize how dope you are when you actually, by yourself standing there and you're creating stuff. Yeah. So
I mean, I think the Motown stuff, as I said, was disappointing for us seeing that happen. So, but when you leave Motown, what do you end up doing?
So I left Motown and I got into some promotions, started doing promotions. Early on, I don't say I brought my brother in, but I helped him get in, and he started. My brother, his name is Greg Baker. He worked at Universal, DreamWorks, Sony, and so I started working with him, helping him with his promotions. I actually started doing I created a promotion team myself. I went out. I worked with Def Jam, and I went on what is it called, the Family Values Tour. So I brought a bunch of guys out. We did promotions on the road with them. So I did a few things, and then I felt like I needed to get away from music altogether. You know, I felt like it wasn't serving the same thing it served early on for me. I felt like there were things happening and people doing things for money that you just shouldn't do for money. You do this because you love it, but you shouldn't screw over people or mess over people. And, when you get older, you start seeing a lot of those things, and I didn't like it. So I got completely away from music. And I didn't do anything for a little bit. And then I started coaching my nephew's baseball team. And I really loved working with kids. Like I found a real joy out that, you teach a kid how to stand up at the plate, how to hold a bat, how to swing a bat, and what to swing at and what not to swing at. And in a game situation, you watch that kid, he hits the ball, he does everything you taught him to do, and he hits the ball, and you're on first base as the first base coach, and he has a smile on his face from ear to ear, you know that that is something you did that for this kid. And whether he remembers you 20 years from now, I know that this moment was special, and it was special because I taught him how to do something and he did it, and he's happy now. So I started working with kids, and I did that. I actually worked in a group home for a little bit. I was a counselor in a group home for a little while.
Wow.
And then I became an administrator, and I kind of ran the facility. I did that for a little bit. And then I moved on to working with disabled adults. And I ran a house for disabled adults for a little while. And again, this is one of those times where, you know, you're in a group and now you're on your own kind of, and you're doing your own thing, and you see how you're moving up constantly, and things are happening because of something that you're doing, and you have helped people, and you're helping people, and you realize how great you are. Like, so that's what I learned from that. Like, you know, you can do it yourself, G. Like you good, and not only you good, you're great. And the things that you're doing for other people is great as well. Like, you know, you're being effective in someone's life and making a difference in someone's life. So that became rewarding and itself. And you know, I felt great. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about people. And I learned the skill of managing people, you know, and dealing with people day to day, and how to deal with people.
And it seems almost a reflection of what you were doing in the role you took on when you were with, you know, with the group, where, you know, making sure everyone was on point and stuff. But then it's less, it seems more rewarding, but it seems less glamorous when, you know,
Yeah.
you get the music, the money, and all
Yes.
that stuff.
Yes.
Would you, and then I guess seeing Eddie was still doing his stuff, and Heavy was still doing stuff, but you didn't miss it, and you enjoyed, and you were fine with where you were.
Yeah, because like I said, it was my decision, and what I learned about myself and what I was learning and what I was doing, I was helping other people. You know, one thing about a troubled kid, you need to have consistency, and, you know, you need to be able to trust, you know. Without those things, you can't, a kid that's having a hard time can't really, you know, navigate when they can't trust a person. So I became that solid person. Like,
Wow.
you know, if I had to deal with a kid, they knew what they were going to get from me. They knew what they weren't going to get from me. And they knew every time it was going to be the same thing. You know, if you act up, this is what you're going to get. But if you do right, this is what you're going to get. And it was great, because then they can trust you. And then if sometimes a kid is in crisis or having a hard time, I can talk to him and tell them the truth. And they get it, and they act accordingly, you know. But it was a different kind of reward, you know, much different. And it could be from week to week. You could see a change in a kid that is having a hard time, and then 2 weeks later, after you didn't talk to them and had some time with them, and now you see them doing better. You know that it's because you were, you know, effective in their treatment, or how you spoke to them, or how you handled them, or dealt with them.
Did they know did they know your background? Did they know you were?
Not at first. Did, you know, one of the counselors would say, you know, he was da 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 da, and then they'd play a video or something and be like, you know. But it's all a humbling thing, you know. It's all very humbling, and I like to say that, you know, we were always humble. Like Heavy D The Boyz, we didn't have security. We weren't like a big entourage. Like, we were just cool dudes that got along with everybody, and that's just who we were. So, you know, me being able to humble myself and do something different outside of the business with people that have seen me doing things, and, you know, imitated, wanted to look like us, or wanted to dance like us.
Yeah.
It was whatever. Like, you know, I had to take care of my family and to do that. So it was okay. And the job I was doing was rewarding, you know. It was rewarding. So
Yeah. I mean, are you still in that environment now, or?
no, well, so like I was saying to you that the group I signed, Shades, back in '95, I think it was. One of the girls in the group's name was Shannon Williams, And what I took from Shannon Williams at that time was she was a hard worker. She was one of the people that would be in the studio, and she had songs that she had written, but she would be in there really trying uh, uh, to work and show her talents as a writer. And I really, okay, you can write. So I had a guy that his name is Delight. He worked with Kenny Whitehead.
Okay.
They all worked together. Kenny Whitehead, and Delight Allenby, Allaby, I think it is. But he's great. He did Janet Jackson and Busta Rhymes. He won a Grammy for that. He did Silk. He did LSG. And my friend Billy Lawrence. I don't know if you heard of Billy Lawrence, but Billy Lawrence was an incredible singer, writer on Elektra back in the days with Sylvia Rome. Anyway, these are all the people that I was working with, and I brought together to work on this Shades album. But Shannon was incredible. Like her writing was incredible, but she just had melodies and everything, but I needed somebody to bring those melodies to light. And that's why I looked to Delight for. And he brought out the melodies to her songs. But it was really her work ethic and who she was as a person that really, I gravitated to that. And we still work together today. This is 95, this is 2000, this is 2021. And we've been working together since then. We started a independent label. We put an artist out by the name of Link. Actually, I'm gonna send him your way as well. He's an incredible artist. He wrote the song, him and Delight wrote the song My Body for LSG. They wrote that song. He's in the hook. You can hear his voice in the hook. Yeah, because it was his song at first, but they sold the song to LSG, which was a big record for them. So we put his album out, I want to say 2007 or something like that. And then we put another project out a few years after that, called The Goonies. Sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fine.
So so we put The Goonies out, and then we started working on a food show called Pre-Game Meal. And that basically was us talking to athletes about what their pre-game was. What did you do? What did you do to start your day this morning? That's your pre-game. How did you get yourself to get out and get going? What fuels your body? So we had a talk show up in Boston, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. We did a couple episodes of that. But then we started talking about what's next. And so her husband is Ray Allen. And they're
NBA
2000, NBA star Ray Allen, all-time leading 3-point shooter, 2-time NBA winner, also gold medal winner. It's a great guy. So their son Walker, which is their middle child, second son, he came down with type 1 diabetes during the NBA finals.
Wow.
They were playing against I think the Lakers at that time. Anyway, so he came down with type 1 diabetes, and that changed her life. So one day she's on the way somewhere, and the boy's in the car. She had 2 sons in the car, but Walker's levels were low, and he needed some food. So she drives around looking for food, and she couldn't find anywhere. Everything is like McDonald's, Taco Bell, but you got a son with type 1 diabetes. You don't want to feed your son that. Like, that's not food. Like, so she went to a restaurant where they made her some food, and she took it home, and she was just terribly upset by that. So from that point, we started talking about starting a restaurant, and that's what we have now. It's called our restaurant is called Grown. It's an organic fast food restaurant where it has a drive-through. You can walk up and get a real meal for a reasonable price for the most part, but it's real food, and every single ingredient we use is organic. We have a drive-through. We make all of our sauces, dressings, marinades, and sauces, so it's really fresh. And we opened, I want to say five years ago now, or going on 5 years in March. It'll be 5 years in March. And it's doing pretty good. We opened one in Connecticut. We opened one in Orlando. We have a location in Hard Rock Stadium where the Dolphins play at.
Wow.
Right now we have our South Miami location, and we're looking to open another location on South Beach in the next couple months. But since COVID, we had to close 2 of the stores.
Okay.
So, which is fine.
And
No.
so I guess finally, so you're no longer working with the adults and the kids. So this is where you're investing a
No,
lot of
this
your
is where
time.
I'm at now. Yeah. So that was, I did that, maybe 7 years ago, maybe. But I've been here for 6 years, and this I came to Florida just for that, to
Oh,
open
so you
Grown.
moved. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
down here in sunny Miami.
Yeah.
The
I think
sun's going down now.
yeah, the sun's good. And I think the final part, I guess, we didn't get to just talk finally about Heavy. I mean, as fans, we see him as this lovable guy, but and it saddened a lot of us that he passed because he always seemed like everyone's best friend.
Yeah.
Um, how soon? I mean, just before he passed, had you seen him and spoken to him? Because I know you said you had this thing about making sure you guys were always talking and giving you guys um, love, knowing that look, you just don't know about tomorrow.
Yeah. Was yeah, we talked, and let's just try to get this situation together really quick if I could. I don't know if you can see me still.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we would talk. And the real upsetting thing for me is that this is another thing I learned. Like when you want to do something, you want to see somebody, make sure you do it. Just do it. Don't put it off. Don't say, okay, I'm gonna do it, and then don't do it. Just do it. Because that was one of the things that I was supposed to do. I was supposed to go out and see him. And we had talked about it for a while, like a year or 2 years, talking about just going to hang out and just, because at this point our relationship was different. He had a daughter by this time, and my oldest daughter, I had her when I was like 20 years old, so she was around the whole time. And he gave me one of the greatest compliments I could ever think he ever gave me, was that I learned how to be a good father from you. I can't. I'm gonna get upset if I keep talking about it. But he learned it. He said that that was a great compliment. And so our conversations right before he passed were, those years before he passed were about just real stuff, just regular stuff, relationships, what's going on with him and his girl, or what's going on with me and mine, and what's going on with our kids and stuff like that. Like they became even better, a different kind of relationship. And I'm sad that I didn't get to see him before he passed,
Yeah.
and we had made plans to do it and talked about doing it. I just never got around to doing it.
Yeah. But knowing that you and Eddie still keep in touch more so.
Yeah, we still talk. I talked to Eddie the other day. He's talking about crypto and trying to figure ways to get, get me involved with different money things, and talking about crypto and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What I want to say before I go is that like it's this young lady, TN07. She's on Instagram. I don't know this lady, but she is a wonderful lady, because she is keeping this 90s music. You guys are keeping it alive, and I want to say thank you for that. I like to think that it was a golden era in hip hop. People might argue and say that there was another golden era before, but 90s was truly it, for the most part. And they're keeping our music alive. And I've noticed that I see things that I've never seen before on us. And it makes me, I wanted to do a documentary on us, but it really makes me want to do it. So I just created an email, my daughter did. It's called Heavy D The Boyz @gmail.com. Right? That's Heavy D The Boyz @gmail.com. And what I want to do is see if people can send me pictures, testimonials, if it was something that Heavy D The Boyz did for you guys, or changed in your lives, or did anything, I would love to hear it, and hopefully make you a part of our documentary whenever I get around to get everything together, and I want to do it. So
No, I'll
Yeah,
be sure to put that out. And no, she is. Yeah, I know she's based out in Holland, and
yeah,
yeah, really big into intro and Heavy D and the boys and the whole New Jacks movement.
yeah,
And so yeah, mad props to her. And I know that for my channel, you know, we've got thousands of subscribers who are solely into the 90s. So if I went and start to interview Rihanna, it's not going to get anyone of you watching it because they want to hear the stories behind back in the
yes.
the back in the days and stuff.
Okay,
I
awesome.
I always end my shows by asking every guest, like, if you were stuck in an elevator and you were told it would take 2 or 3 hours, and they said, "What movie can we put on for you to watch while we get you out?" What would you request?
Oh, shit, jeez. There's a few movies that just came to my mind. Um, oh man, I, I I I don't know. I don't know, man. I love movies. Like I
Yeah,
love old movies. I love westerns. I love sci-fi. Um, I want to say something stupid. Well, not stupid. It's not gonna be stupid, but it's like the first thing that really comes to my mind is this movie called Dune. I don't know if you've ever heard it or saw it before. It's called Dune. It's an old movie. It's from the I want to say 80s maybe. But
okay.
look it up. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's some sci-fi kind of like,
Yeah, I think the name
yeah.
it comes familiar, but yeah,
It's
but
called Dune. Dune.
yeah, I think yeah, okay. I think I might have
Yeah.
seen it, but I will look that up.
Look it up.
They're
Or a
about
movie called Legend. A movie called Legend with Tom Cruise in it.
oh, okay, okay,
Or is it-
okay,
The movie's it's about good and evil. It's about good and evil and how, love conquers everything.
okay.
That's the gist of the
The
movie for the
history,
most part.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'll look that up. And then finally, though, they're about to put the movie, but they say, look, we'll play a song before the movie starts. What song would you request to listen to?
Well, put Number Love because that was the theme of our career. When you look at just about all of the songs, it was about love and about and I believe that love conquers all. So Number Love.
Okay. Yeah, no, that as I said, that was a really different album from the other side, but it did portray a lot of that. I mean, do you miss the dancing and the performing and the whole that stuff at all?
Um, I did it. I did it well and did it great. And I did it at its highest stage, I've been on TV, live TV, and everything, in Living Color, MTV, Grammy, Living Legends. Like we've done a lot of stuff. Soul Train, BT. Like we've done a lot, and I did it. Right now I got a mean two step for whoever want to dance with me. I got a mean two step. You
Okay,
know, yeah.
okay. I mean, I have to appreciate, the time. Normally, yeah, that's one of the things why I don't do it live. Is just because it just allows the flexibility and journey. But it's been fascinating hearing your journey and your stuff. It's been,
And I want to say thank you so much. Like, so you were the first interview outside of the country that we've done. You were the first interview outside of the country that we've done in years. No one's heard the story. We've been overseas to England one time in our beginning of our career, and we never went back over there. And we stayed there for 30 days, toured all through England and Wales, whatever. And these moments that we spoke about are very precious to me, and they mean a lot to me. And because this time and this era means so much to you, I was willing to share it with you. So I appreciate you. It's going to probably open the door for a lot more interviews with people overseas. So I just want to thank you, and I appreciate you for keeping this music alive and this 90s music alive and having me on your show.
Oh goodness, you know what? When you agreed to come on, I was doing cartwheels, and I think the only reason the promotional video I put out today was to make sure you don't forget. I almost try to put you on the spot. Like, see this?
No.
Everyone was like, "Wow, look what's going on." I said, "Look, just in case he backs out, he that's the reason why I woke up this morning and said, how do I get him to remember the interview, so I came up with a video quickly and put it out there.
Nah, I thought about it since we talked about it first. I chatted about it. And again, it's like one of those things that it's not hard for me to share, but it's hard for me to share, well, because it's so personal, what I'm saying? I'm a humble person. I'm not a private person, but I'm a private person. And these are precious moments to me that I'm sharing with you in times and stuff like that. So I'm funny about that. And I'm, know, even as Hev passed, people were wanting to do this and wanting to do that. And some things I knew Hev wouldn't do, so I didn't do it, or people were opportunistic about doing these things. And, to me, it's not about, capitalizing on a moment. It's about telling a real story and true story. That's why a lot of stories out there aren't real and true. They're not true. A lot of them aren't true because, they just, the way they went about doing it and the people that they have speaking about it, some of them, but keep it positive. And like I said, I appreciate you and I appreciate you keeping our music alive and having me on today.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching. I begin to